It's next one up and next man up. Who's going to be out there for the Kansas City Chiefs against the Browns today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. We're brought to you by FanDuel. You can get after it right now, where a $5 bet can earn you $150 back in bonus bets just for winning that $5 over at FanDuel.com. We'll tell you more about them later. We're excited. It's Tuesday. We're going to find out exactly what's going on around town and what we think is the future from this guy, Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, as well as Chiefs Digest here on YouTube. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. Check out my sites, NFL33.com, where I'm talking about the rest of the league, the non-Chief stuff, although you're going to get some Chief stuff in there, as well as RGR football. We'd appreciate it if you like, sub, hit the bell, and hit all of the audio platforms as well, because we're here for you 5 days a week for absolutely free. You just have to listen to me, and that's part of the fun. Matt, thank you for being with us again. We're going to run down what the Browns could look like and what this 10-day stretch is just going to turn out to be. How do they rise? That's coming up next, but really, it's about the additions of subtractions right now, Matt. The signing of Steven Nelson, obviously, it's just onto the practice squad. What's the evolution there? How do you see this progressing this week, next week, and on into the future?
Yeah, I mean, a really good question would be that if you feel like you can utilize Steven Nelson, I mean, how quickly can that be? He announced his retirement in June, so I don't know what kind of shape he's been keeping himself in, what kind of conditioning he's in. Obviously, the Chiefs saw enough in the visit on Monday to go ahead and put him on the practice squad and give him a shot, and obviously, he's been a pretty reliable guy. Has he been a Pro Bowl caliber player over the years? Not exactly, but he's had some good moments, and he's always been consistent. I mean, he's been a guy that can give you productive snaps, and maybe the floor is a little lower than with some of the options that the Chiefs have been having. But a big part of it to me is just going to be what kind of a shape is he in. He's even a little bit different than DJ Humphries in that I don't really know what he's been doing to keep himself in shape, where he is kind of athletically right now. You knew DJ Humphries was working towards playing football all year long. I don't know at what point, Steven Nelson decided to do that. It just happened when the Chiefs called. Who knows? But you got to think it's going to be at least a couple of weeks before, you get him up to speed to enough where you would be comfortable even, getting him into a game. You saw what happened when you get DJ Humphries into a game maybe too quickly. You get some good, you get some bad. Maybe you have an injury risk, so there's probably some takeaways from that, but I think it's going to be at least a couple of weeks before we really see what, if anything, the Chiefs are going to get from the Steven Nelson experiment.
I'm interested to see just how that experiment unfolds. And this is an interesting room. A lot of youth in the corner room. And if you're just meeting as DB, still a lot of youth, right? There's an established leader in Justin Reed. There's an established leader in Trent McDuffie. Knowing Steven's past and how he's fit into rooms on this roster in the past, does that for you leave a concern about how he floats into this room with a bunch of young guys that have been working together for quite a long time and trying to bring something in the meantime before he's able to be on the field?
Yeah, Steven's an interesting guy. I mean, and he was a good player for the Chiefs. I thought he fit in pretty well. But remember, I mean, that was, mostly without, Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, that's he hasn't been a part of this system for a long time. So, I think that'll be interesting to just kind of see, how and if he does fit in. And I don't know what kind of a cat Steven Nelson is now versus when he was in Kansas City. I mean, I can tell you he was kind of two different people. I mean, he was prickly with the media and reporters. His last couple of years, he really didn't want to talk to the media and kind of was brash with us a little bit, but was always a popular guy, well-liked in the locker room. So now that locker room has changed quite a bit. There's not going to be many familiar faces in there this time around, but we'll see what happens. But I think you got to give Steven Nelson the benefit of the doubt that he's been a veteran and he's been in a few different rooms, for a reason, that he's been a productive NFL player and he's never been a problem. He's not a guy who causes problems.
And that's a plus. He's obviously put himself out on the field and can rely on that. I'm really interested to see what maybe tidbits of experience he can partake and give away to the rest of that room until he is that guy on the field, or at least has a chance to be. We'll see how that goes. Now, on the flip side, it's this concern. We don't have any update currently, folks, as we record this about the MRI for DJ Humphries, but you get him back. And as you said, it was rushed. You felt, at least the team felt like they needed to get him out there against that particular opponent with that particular pass rush. Okay. Now you reap the repercussions at this point. Going back to if DJ is unable to go this week, okay, you have an elite pass rusher coming. So the subtraction puts you right back where you were, which has been subpar tackle play in general, particularly on the left side. This really, I think, would intimate to me that you got to find some way to do something new with the guys that you've already had. But I'm not sure how I would go about that. And usually I have some harebrained ideas. How do you see them approaching this left tackle spot?
I mean, I think there's probably only three ways. I mean, obviously DJ Humphries is option number one. If he's healthy, he plays. After that, I'm not certain I know what, plan B and plan C are. I'm certain one of them is Wanya Morris. I think the other one is probably Joe Thuney. I mean, I think that's your two options. And, and if you, and especially, with DJ Humphries, I mean, if he is nursing and battling a hamstring injury and it's something that might, be bothering him for a couple of weeks, do you really want to enter a situation where he's starting the first of 3 games in 10 days? If you think you might need Joe Thuney during this stretch, I mean, do you want him playing left tackle 3 games in 10 days? I mean, it's a pick your poison kind of thing. I mean, so is it, hey, if you think that, for instance, if you thought in this period of that 10-day period between Browns and Steelers, you're not going to have DJ Humphries at all, or you think you might only have him for 2 games. Do you want him to be back to back and, a short period of time, short turnaround? Do you want Joe Thuney doing that? Do you just plan on saying, okay, you know what, with this injury situation, we know Wanya Morris is going to play against the Houston Texans, and then it's just figuring out who's going to play against the Browns and the Steelers. I don't know. And we may be putting, more 3D chess into this conversation than the thoughts on the Chiefs are, because I know that 90% of the time the Chiefs are going to say, okay, we're going to play the best 5 players, whomever that may be. So is it going to mean that they're going to play Wanya Morris at that spot and leave Joe Thuney at left tackle? Is it you're going to kick out Joe Thuney, not take a risk on, inserting either Wanya or Kingsley back in there? I mean, I think we're probably ruling out Kingsley as an option at this point, as starting. So I think it's either Wanya or Thuney or Humphries. But, we'll see. I mean, I'm not even sure if on Wednesday the Chiefs will know for sure. And we know last week that even on Friday, the Chiefs were pretending not to know who was going to start at left tackle, like they hadn't made a decision yet. But they had in their heart of hearts. So let's find out and see what happens. See what Andy Reid says on Wednesday.
Well, Mind of Mine says that this is a tightrope you have to walk for all 4 of these players. Really interested to see how it comes down. And I have my druthers and I have some concerns. We'll address those on another day. What we have to get to is, what is the team as a whole outside of this position doing to take the next step forward? That's on the backside of this. Where are my renters at? Ever feel like you're stuck in that loop of constant rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around, start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month you pay rent and watch the Built points roll in. You can use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're even designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked as the highest point value currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying your rent right now when you go and join built.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that it's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that you use that URL so that you know that we sent you. Built.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning your reward points right now on your written payment. Always fun. Check out ChiefsDigest.com. You'll get more over there on the written format, and Chiefs Digest on YouTube. Go to NFL 33 and RGR Football. For me, I would very much appreciate it. You can do the like and the thing and the stuff. I like things that actually make progress, Matt. So that's what I'm looking for. The gems, the stones, the guys that have it. And on further review of this last ball game, as close as it was, in battling a division foe that always plays you tough for some reason, it doesn't matter what the roster looks like, they always play them tough. One guy that I still feel is rising down the stretch is Trent McDuffie. He's been very good all year, but I do feel that upping his game against a physicality aspect in Johnson the other night, I think overall is taking that to the next level, and they need someone to lead that room. Do you see it the same way, or is there someone else on the defense in particular that you see on the rise?
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs absolutely need some guys and could use some guys to step up. And, and Trent McDuffie, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, to me, I think he has been playing better, defense down the stretch. They obviously, the Chiefs have been asking more and more from him. I mean, he's been drawing tougher and tougher matchups. There was a little bit of moving around this week too, more than he has been doing. And, I mean, he absolutely shut down Quentin Johnson, had some great plays against him. I mean, even though he's going up against a little bit bigger guys, that's I think a challenge. And when you're going up against a Jerry Jeudy this week and another receiver that's given the Chiefs some troubles in the past, that's an advantage. I mean, one thing that the Chiefs absolutely need is, though, they need some other guys to just step up and develop some consistency. Shamari Connor, I think, has been a little bit of a disappointment over the last month, because that's a guy that, really gave you some quality play last year, and I think was really strong in the first half of the season this year. He just seemed to hit a little bit of a wall this year. I don't know if it's just a playing time wall, because he has been, getting a little bit more work than he did a year ago. It's a film wall, people are just, getting a little bit more on his tendencies and everything. But, I think they definitely need some improvement out of Chamari as you kind of go into the trail end of the season here, because they're struggling so much in the secondary, and it is, to me, this goes back to the question that I've been asking, as far as the workload that this defense has been getting. And, I point to Chris Jones, playing the most snaps of his career that he's on pace for, and certainly the highest percentage of snaps in his career. That's not what you should be doing. But there's a lot of guys who are in that same boat. I mean, I think Justin Reed's playing more snaps than you want him to. Brian Cook. Once again, we talked about him coming off, a really tough injury and surgery. And I think you're seeing him kind of wearing down a little bit from the workload. And some of that is absolutely due to the close games. Chris Jones mentioned it last week that he's probably playing more in the fourth quarter than he would normally play because they've been in these close games. And that's true for all of these guys. And, McDuffie, give him credit. He's the one defender who's played every defensive snap this year. So some other guys have been at least dinged up here and there, but Trent's had been the Iron Man. He's played every snap. But they need defense, and he's a young guy. I think he can handle it. But for guys coming off of surgery, like a Brian Cook, for guys who are a little bit older, like a Justin Reed, I think you got to figure out a way to get these guys more rest. And if you wrap up the number one seed, maybe you get that opportunity. But, that's where I think that, some of the maybe the deficiencies we've seen in this defense the last couple of weeks is really coming down to fatigue. And I would be interested in seeing what happens if you do get some of these guys some rest, even like a young guy like a Chamari Connor. Get him some rest, give him some time to kind of reboot a little bit, because, to me, it seems more like it's maybe a physical thing and a mental thing than scheme wise or anything else. I mean, this team isn't doing a whole lot differently, but I do get the sense that maybe they're a little bit slower. Maybe they're not quite as energetic as they would have been a month ago.
I'll put a lot of that on the NFL schedule makers to put these 3 games back to back to back and have the bye week so early. I do think that is a significant factor. But it is what it is, and you got to play through it. 2 guys on offense that I think are starting to play better, starting to rise a little bit individually, but together as well, are Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy, and I'm looking forward to more and more. It feels like it's starting to click a little bit more between the two of them. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, and I think it has been there, but I think some of it has been, obviously there's 2 things that both those guys want to do. I mean, they want to hit on the big ball, they want to hit on the deep ball, but look at Xavier Worthy's work in the last couple of weeks and what's been so effective. It's been just, quick throws in space and then letting him do what he does. He can get you yards after the catch. All you just need to do is really get Xavier Worthy the ball in a good spot, and he can make a play. And I think he is so much more polished and advanced, for instance, as a route runner than Tyreek Hill was. He can make some plays in the short passing game that I feel like were year 2, year 3 Tyreek plays when, Tyreek had been in the league for a few years. Because let's face it, I mean, the Chiefs, when they started really relying on Tyreek in year 2 and year 3, and the rest of his, time in Kansas City, those 10-yard outs were guaranteed first downs. If you had a 3rd and 8, throw the ball to Tyreek. I mean, you get a first down. You knew that. I think Xavier's already there.
Yep.
You don't need to have him. And frankly, with the offensive line protection right now, deep ball's not there. If you get an opportunity to take a shot deep, it's timing. It's just fortuitous. You can't guarantee when it's going to be there because of the inconsistency you were getting with the pass protection right now. But we saw again in this game against the Chargers, if Mahomes gets the ball out on time, on schedule, and just takes what's there and makes the quick reads and the quick progressions, I think this team can move the ball downfield the way that they have earlier in the season, even when they're running the football effectively. Even if they just want to throw the ball all day, I think they can go down in 12 plays and 75 yards whenever they want to. It's just that they got to want to. And, and that means that sometimes you just got to take the big chunk plays and just rule them out and hope that maybe you get your chunk plays because you throw a 3-yard in to Xavier Worthy and he takes it for 25. I mean, those are going to be your chunk plays. But I feel like that those between Worthy and Mahomes, I feel like that they've been there all along. They just have done a better job of taking advantage of them the last couple of weeks.
I want to ask about one more guy because I thought what he brought against the Chargers was clearly important. He's in a unique position because of injury and the situation at his position. What do you think, just in this next 10-day run, Nikko Remigio can bring to the active roster and possibly onto the field?
He's a spark plug. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, you saw it against the Browns, and you talk about Isaiah Pacheco as being an energy giver. Nikko Remigio was that guy too, and you saw it. I mean, the way that he got pumped up after those punt returns, especially that 21-yarder that set up the team for a field goal. That's the kind of juice that he can give this team, and I would love to see him get more reps on offense. I mean, obviously they're going to lean on him as a special teamer for now, but I would love to see him get more work as a receiver because I think he's that kind of guy. I mean, he is, he reminds me, and I know some people are going to take this as an insult, I'm not being insulting here with this either towards any of the fans. The smart fans will know why I'm making this comparison. He reminds me a lot of Albert Wilson. Uh-huh. And, because Albert Wilson was just a tough little, energy guy. I mean, he would do all the dirty work. He didn't mind. Nikko doesn't mind about that. You need Nikko Remigio to run a pick over the middle of the field. He's going to do that. You need to be a complimentary guy who just, and he's really smart too. I mean, here, Ryan, I'm putting a lot of caveats out here where I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm not trying to insult Fresno State either, but this is a Cal kid. Right. I mean, he's a smart kid. So, a super high football IQ guy. So, I think not, at Albert Wilson, I also put him in kind of a Justin Watson category. I mean, he can be that complimentary receiver, I think, because he knows playbook in and out. He knows where he's supposed to be. I think he can play multiple spots. He lacks the experience, but I think he could do a lot for this team down the stretch, and I'm happy to see him get his opportunities because I've had a chance this year to really see just how hard he has worked. Last year he wasn't around the team a lot because he was rehabbing from that shoulder, but this year he's been a really integral part of that scout team and on the practice squad. Very popular in that wide receiver group, and you see why. I mean, like I said, he's an energy guy. He's got a positive attitude. I think he can obviously be one of your kick returners, pass specialists. I think he showed that on Sunday, what he can do. That fumble that he had in Atlanta during the preseason, remember, that was his first NFL game because he didn't play in anything in preseason last year. It was his first moment back. It was a lot of emotion there. That kid hasn't made a mistake since. So, whether it's been in training camp or during practice during the season, he's earned a spot to be back here.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. Let's see what he can bring when he gets his shot. I think that he will. He's not the only one that has a tough road ahead. The entire team, the next 10-day stretch is going to be difficult. What does it look like, and how do they get through? Coming up next. Hey, Locked On Chiefs fans. If you're like me and your holiday shopping list is a little bit far from complete, as mine is, we've got something for you that you're going to like. It's fully licensed. Ice Shaker is with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, pretty much any acronym of sports you can think of, they are there. They've sold over 1 million bottles, and it's the thing that has changed workout structures. This gift is for everyone. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to check out and save 25%. It's kitchen grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor or anything else like plastic bottles do. They're third-party tested, and there's a ton of it that you can go find out there. They're customizable. You can put anything on them. So right now, you can order your branded team bottles at iceshaker.com and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for 25% off of your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market, Ice Shakers. Make sure that you check out everything Matt does as well over on Chiefs Digest. And we have to start taking the bigger look. I think it's criminal what the NFL has done to this team, but it feels like that parent that says, listen, I got something that's got to get done. I need one of you kids to do it. And sorry, youngest, no, I'm not going to put that on you. Middle kid, I'm not going to put you're the oldest. You're the one who can handle it the best. We're going to give this stretch to you. That's what it feels like they did to the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think that that's part of the problem here?
I mean, it's weird because, last year, I think the Chiefs had probably, you could argue, a tougher schedule last year, and especially at the end of the season because, so much of, the NFL, and you look at the numbers and everything, a lot of things correlate with rest and how many days of rest you get before games. And the Chiefs last year were historic because they had one of the largest rest deficits in NFL history. Ended up being 11-6. Maybe, you know what? I mean, everybody's talking this year about, this is maybe the worst 12-1 team in NFL history. Last year might have been, maybe they were the best 11-6 team in NFL history because they might have been 12-1 last year had they not had this ridiculous, rest deficit. And, I pointed that to being a big part of the game against the Chargers. I mean, at least the advantage that the Chiefs had from playing on Black Friday was that they were going to get a 2-day edge on the 49ers, on the Chargers. So, that to me, hey, in a close game like that came down to on Sunday night, those 2 days probably mattered. The one thing at least the Chiefs have in this stretch is that they're going to have even rest with everybody. It's a tough stretch for the Texans. It's a tough stretch for the Steelers too. One advantage that maybe the Chiefs do have though is that I don't think the Texans game is going to be real tough. I mean, I'm not saying that, knock on wood, for Chiefs fans that, this is going to be an easy win or anything like that nature. And I'll admit, I mean, I've probably been one of the bigger Houston Texans poo-pooers all along. So maybe I'm even still looking down on them more dimly, even though that maybe they're not having the season everybody thought that they were. Maybe CJ Stroud's not taking a step forward. But who would you rather play on a Saturday and then turn around and play on a Wednesday? Would you rather play the Houston Texans or would you rather play the Baltimore Ravens? Because that's what the Steelers are going to have. So, the one thing is that, hey, at least, like I said, the Texans and the Steelers are going to be on the same rest schedule of the Chiefs. So you don't really have that advantage. The toughest one against the tougher team, certainly the Steelers on Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. Could the Chiefs benefit from the same thing that happened to them last year? Now it's not the Raiders who are coming to play on the road on Christmas Day against the Chiefs. Now it's the Chiefs going on the road to play somebody on Christmas Day. Maybe they want to ruin somebody's holiday. So that'll be the advantage here. But the fact that, the Steelers are going to be coming off a tough conference game against the Ravens, that's going to be a difficult team. That's an advantage. And on top of that, there's a reasonable chance that if the Chiefs don't have the AFC number 1 seed wrapped up by that game, that it's going to be available to them on Christmas. So they may be having more to play for than the Steelers do. And that's, once again, I think the toughest game in that stretch is the one at Pittsburgh. So, I mean, I feel like that even though the NFL did not do the Chiefs any favors in building the schedule, at the same time, and Nick Jacobs and I had one of the schedule makers on our podcast on 41 is the Mic during the offseason and talked about the fact that the NFL tried to go really hard at, for picking the teams that were going to play in that stretch of games that they knew was going to be difficult. They wanted to do it and try and set it up so that no one had an advantage. No one really had a serious one, that everybody was going to get to do a home and a road, that there wasn't going to be a huge rest discrepancy. There wouldn't be a huge travel discrepancy. And I'll give them credit. I mean, I think they figured that out. Like I said, even though I think it's absolutely terrible to make teams be doing a stretch like this late in the season, and especially with having an early bye, at the same time, it could be worse, Ryan. It could be worse.
If you say so, okay. I'm going to hold it against them. I don't really buy it. That said, it all starts with the Browns. Got to take down the team that's in front of you. How do you see this game going down?
Yeah, I mean, this is, once again, we talk about it. This is a team that the Chiefs should beat fairly handily. I mean, they are the better team. The Browns are not going anywhere. They're a 3-win team. Jameis Winston, as much as you may love the personality, you get good Winston and bad Winston in the same game. You just don't know in which proportions. I mean, if good Jameis plays 85% of this game, Chiefs are going to be in a fight. If you get good Jameis for 35% of the game, like maybe they got last week or less, it's going to be an easy win. I mean, the Browns have pieces, and you got to be worried about Myles Garrett, especially with the offensive line and the way it's protecting right now. But Chiefs are a better team. I mean, they should win. I couldn't quite figure out which way to go right on this one, because I still can't take the Chiefs to win in a blowout until they blow somebody out. So rather than, I feel like what I probably have done of late is that I've inflated the other team's scores to catch up with the Chiefs. This time I'm deflating the Chiefs score to kind of keep up with the Browns. So I'm going with Chiefs 19-13, but if this one ends up being 31-13, I won't be surprised.
Well, let's hope that you're absolutely correct. Thank you for going out on that limb. We appreciate it, as well as all of your insight. Thanks, Matt. Folks, check out ChiefsDigest.com, and Matt, we will see you post-game.
Sounds great, Ryan. Take care, everybody.
You all have a great day. Thanks for being with us. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, do all the things to give us that much more time to give you more information. Thank you, everydayers. Check out the text line at 816-357-8781, and we will see you tomorrow.